Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for Heartthrob, originally airing September 24th, 2000 run, written by David Greenwald. Since we last saw Angel investigations, months have passed. Angel went to retreat in a monastery to mourn Buffy. Fred hasn't left her room, and everyone else is fighting demons. Angel's retreat ends in a similar fashion as the monks turn out to be demons, and he kills them all. Angel comes back to LA and does the customary giving of the gifts. He also visits Fred in her room and finds out she's having more than a little trouble adjusting. She's grown attached, maybe unhealthily, to Angel. But now that he's back, she promises to take baby steps into getting better. Cordelia has visions of vampires attacking some college kids in the biggest dorm room in the universe, and everyone rushes off. Angel is apparently faster than a car and lands on the convertible because that's the vampire's vehicle of choice and attacks him. He stakes a female vampire, and as she dies, she recognizes him, calling him Angelus. It turns out that Angel knew this vampire and her boyfriend back in the day. They were an all-blonde Spike and Drew, but more nauseating. I called them the proto-Spike and Drew, but I don't know the dates, and I'm too lazy to look it up. So let's just assume, though, that these characters were created because Spike was unavailable, and the episode ending doesn't work with Spike anyway. So James, and I want to say Lizbeth or something along those lines, annoy Angelus with their lovey-dovey attitude. Also, James is an idiot and attracts attention of the vampire hunter Holtz. Angel then stops telling everyone the story in present day, and Gunn and Wesley try to find James in LA. Cordelia talks to Angel about Buffy because he's not saying anything about her death. He's not saying anything because he doesn't want to talk about it. He's just not talking about it. Cordelia does get Angel to continue the story about Holtz. So Angelus got away from Holtz by selling Darla out and escaping on horseback. James is disgusted by the way he treats Darla and abandons Angelus in the alley because he doesn't care about anyone. Admittedly, that's totally true. Meanwhile, in present day, James is not coping with his lover's loss. He goes to a demon doctor and tells him he wants it out. We find out it is his heart, I guess. I don't know. It makes James invulnerable for a short period of time, but eventually when the spell runs out, he dies. That's fine, though, because James just wants to kill Angel. When Angel hears from Wesley that James is coming for him, he tells Cordelia to go home, but she won't hear of it. The argument becomes rather useless, and James barges into the IP and attacks Angel. Angel tries to kill him several times, realizes he can't, and runs in the sewers with Cordelia in tow. There's more chasing, more Cordelia and Angel sniping at each other, and they end up on a subway train, and so does James. James decides to get real speechy now. He looks at Angel and Cordelia and tells Angel he's going to kill the woman he loves in revenge. Angel tells him he can't, because the woman he loved already died talking about Buffy. James tells Angel he couldn't love Buffy because he wouldn't be able to survive without her. Angel finally gains the upper hand in the fight, just as James loses strength and begins to die. As he dies, he tells Angel might survive, but James lived. Back at Hyperion, Angel tells Cordelia that he is okay that Buffy is gone, and that's the problem. He feels guilty for accepting her death so quickly. Cordelia tells him that this is what Buffy would have wanted. He's not less human because he isn't obsessed like James. He's more human. In Mexico, we see another of Angel's blonde, petite former lovers as Darla sits in a bar. A man gives her something and is super creepy about it. So naturally, Darla turns on her vamp face, bites him, kills him, and then she gets over from the bar to reveal a very pregnant stomach. And that's the end of our episode.
Ooh.
I don't know what to make of that noise you just did.
I thought that, well, we'll talk about the cliffhanger in a bit, but that was a heck of a way to end our season premiere. It was really weird when I sat down to watch this. For some reason, it had felt like a while since we had recorded. It's only been a week.
I felt the opposite.
Oh, really?
Because I thought the whole recap that Wesley gives would have been very necessary if I had waited a few months to watch this episode, but as it was a lot of information at once.
Yeah, I mean, they did definitely do a lot of setup, but it felt like for the characters it had been 3 months. I thought they did a really good job of selling the amount of time that had passed. And I thought the beginning of the episode was pretty funny. I liked, I don't know, to me it seemed like the writing has gotten better, or is just a little wittier or cleverer, or the jokes are just landing with me more. I liked the angel fighting the demon monks and the I should have gone to Vegas little gag. I thought that was pretty funny. And the fight was actually pretty well choreographed for how little we got. It just reminded me kind of Matrix-ish.
I didn't get a Matrix vibe. I mean, I've already said I'm not watching the show for the fight choreography. But I do think there was snappier, maybe not snappier writing, but I felt there was a different kind of mood to this episode that was more enjoyable. And I don't know if they're 2 years in and they've got their rhythm. They've talked to Stella and got their groove, or what?
Yeah. Do you think, well, it could be that the gang's finally back together. We're not having to deal with the fallout of anything.
Well, I don't think Wesley and Gunn do anything terribly important or anything in this episode.
True, but them commenting on things still feels kind of fresh.
Sure.
Like, the cohesiveness of the gang feels like they get to
that just makes me so nervous about this season. Because I feel it's a Joss Whedon show and everyone's very happy and together, and I think something terrible is about to happen.
Well, that may be true. And that is something that is always fearful whenever...
Anytime anybody is getting along and everyone's happy, that's when I get my most nervous.
This episode was interesting because you did have that kind of lighter tone, but then everything that dealt with Angel obviously was a bit more melancholy, and so you had like good jokes that were hitting, and then having to deal with Buffy's death.
Well, the way we dealt with Buffy's death was Angel's already over it. Because I didn't get a great deal of sadness when we started talking about Buffy. Because I felt... Because in the first scene where Angel... when Cordelia tries to get Angel to open up and he doesn't want to talk, something about that seemed off to me right away. And that could just be because I remember that he comes back and he's already accepted it. But even in that scene, it's not the usual Angel deflecting, doesn't want to talk about it. Angel doesn't want to talk about it because he's guilty. Angel doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't have anything to say and he's guilty about that.
Right.
So it was a different kind of energy from the normal Angel depression. Self-loathing, moping.
And that was, you're right, that was really apparent with, I really liked how Cordelia immediately picked up on it at the beginning of the episode whenever the rest of the gang was like, he seems better, and then she would, her spidey sense went off and she was like, uh-huh. And yeah, in that scene, you can definitely tell that something's up, but it's not the kind of emotion or the kind of response that you would expect from Angel. Because Angel's...
usually what Angel does is he doesn't make eye contact when he doesn't want to talk about something.
Right.
Or he just ignores it. He's making eye contact with Cordelia almost the entire time. Looking straight at her and just not saying anything. Right.
And I like how that scene starts because Cordelia starts to try and say something, then immediately, she's just kind of hovering around, and then Angel addresses her and says, "I know you." There was really a nice...
they're in love.
So there was a nice recognition between both characters of how that they've grown closer and they know each other really well. Mm-hmm. Anyways, just getting this different kind of emotion from Angel was nice, because most of the time he's just a drama queen, and you would expect, like, if this was season 2 of Buffy,
this is what I want to talk about.
Angel would be this over dramatic And I liked the inclusion.
Be a diva.
Yeah, like the inclusion of this vamp, James, like for sheer purposes of how he reacts to him losing the love of his life and how Angel reacts to losing Buffy. You know, they make a clear distinction between the two, and I really like how they do that in this episode.
The thing I like about this episode is, well, it's an episode all about Angel and his relationship with Buffy, but I like about what it says about Angel that has nothing to do with Buffy. Because I do feel if Buffy had died in season 1 of Angel, he probably would have maybe close to what James does. I mean, look at what happens when Doyle dies. He immediately shuts off from, like, everyone.
Right.
And if we're just going back to I Will Remember You, I still don't think maybe the show wants us to view as that action being any way problematic, but the thing is that when Angel asks to become a vampire again, he does it without consulting her. And he does it because he personally can't live with the fact that she might die. And it doesn't really revolve around what Buffy would want. And here, he's accepted her death and he's willing to let her go. And I guess we can say that Buffy's death happened because she sacrificed herself.
Right.
So he's respecting her wishes, unlike some other people, which we won't discuss. But I'll just say that there's 2 more seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's what really grabbed me in this episode or made it more interesting is just having Angel's perspective on that. The fact that he is okay and how unsure of himself he is and how it's like really thrown him for a loop. Like that he's not having this reaction to the person that was supposed to be the love of his life. That it didn't kill him. But, you know, we talked
I do
beforehand.
think, are you saying that she wasn't?
No, I'm not saying that. But, I mean, we talked earlier on a couple episodes ago about how, or last week, how, you know, he's been around for 200 plus years, that he might have even subconsciously just accepted the fact that he was going to outlive her.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's kind of the reason they broke up, too. One of the reasons. Is there's no kind of future there with him being immortal and her continuing to live and grow old, besides the fact they can't consummate their relationship. Right.
And there was also, you know, a degree of, obviously, since, I mean, we're not going to talk that much about, you know, Buffy, but her job role was obviously very dangerous, and Slayers don't have the biggest track record for living that long. Mm-hmm. So I think there was always a timestamp there.
Yeah. I think what I like about this is it shows a lot of growth from Angel. And it's growth in not like an obvious way. Like, they don't make a big point about how much he's changed. It's just kind of who he is now, that he's more, because if Buffy had died in season 1, Buffy is really his only connection to the human world.
Right.
Here he has a support system around him, and he has people like Fred who are relying on him, and it's a completely different situation. As opposed to Angel, who didn't want to be around any kind of people in season 1. And Doyle managed to make it through, and then Doyle died.
Right. Like, he definitely has ties to this world now. I also like the way they incorporated the flashbacks in this episode.
Okay, and I have mixed feelings about the flashback.
Well, okay, well...
Because I don't like James on a personal level because he's so obviously supposed to be Spike.
He's like the even more lovelorn vampire.
He's like Spike if he was a worse actor and more grating. And more, well, no, Spike's not great. Spike, if all he was about was the love thing, and that was just incredibly annoying in one note, which is what James is. But I like
super James Austen or Jane Austen novel.
Yeah, sure. It's not that I think he's terrible. I just had a personal problem that this was obviously supposed to be Spike. Not that it was trying to tell a Spike story without having to use Spike because they couldn't use Spike.
Right, like you can't do any of the him getting his heart taken out, have the cure thing, and him die at the end of the episode.
We're not going to do that because also he's a regular on. It's a whole another thing that you just can't. It's probably why Spike should have never joined Buffy as a regular, but whatever. It might have been nice to have just him pop up occasionally, but I'm not bitter about it.
Yeah, I agree that this does look like it was supposed to be a Spike storyline. And if it was Spike, that would have added so many more layers to it just because of the sheer kind of history between the two of them. But I thought the inclusion of James worked. I don't think he's the best actor in the world.
I don't think he's terrible.
Yeah.
He serves his purpose.
Right. And I still think he was... I found him more interesting than, say, Penn from season 1.
Yeah.
I like any time they flash back to...
Penn died, right?
Angel's past. Yeah, Penn died.
See, I really don't remember Penn too terrible. If Penn wasn't played by Jeremy Renner, I don't think Penn is in any way would stick out in anyone's memory.
Well, he was just the guy that was trying to copycat Angel. Mm-hmm. Like that. All of these vampires that have more of a past with Angel are just more reflections of Angel.
Yes, exactly.
Which is fine. I like getting different facets of Angel's background.
I do agree that James worked better than Penn.
Yeah.
Because I don't even... So, Penn was just the copycat. Was it like Angel's like, I don't know who I am, sort of. I really don't even remember the episode.
He was a copycat killer, and he...
I remember that.
It's
how Kate finds out that he's a vampire. That could be why I'm repressing it.
It was the way that they got to play up that Angel still has darkness in him.
Oh yeah,
because he was having having the dreams and stuff.
All right, well I think this is better because it just serves a better purpose of showing how much Angel's changed. The thing I like about the flashbacks, besides seeing Darla, is seeing Angelus and how much Angelus just doesn't care about anybody.
Right, and that's something that we hadn't seen before in the past.
Oh no, we've seen it,
but it wasn't as blatant.
No, it wasn't like the point of seeing the flashback is that he doesn't care about anybody. It's just kind of who he is.
Right, and it was a nice dichotomy with the over the top Spike and Drusilla, not Spike and Drusilla vampires. Mm-hmm. Like that, they have so much humanity about the love between the two of them that takes up their whole existence. And meanwhile, Angelus is just kind of like shrugging the entire time, like, "Hey, let's go,"
and kind of having an accent, getting it phased out.
Yeah, but I actually found that less annoying than the accents in the previous flashbacks that we've had.
No, I do think it was better.
Because it was less of an accent, yeah. Right?
And I do like that we call back Darla leaving him in the barn. And
right.
Holtz, who was mentioned in that barn scene, we actually get to meet him.
Right. Which, the fact that they have this sense of past and history and that they were calling back to it as well, really added something to the flashbacks for me. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a whole lot going on, but it really gave a good sense of history to the character, and I like this timeline aspect, and the fact that they're really building up that story. The rest of the gang gets really wrapped up into the story, and in the flashback, James, like, I don't believe he's the best vampire killer ever around or whatever, none lived to tell the tale kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Which, I'm going to be honest, Holtz doesn't look that threatening.
But he's got a cool hat.
I don't think he has a cool hat. He has an era-appropriate hat that everyone around him has. He looks like a tiny little man on a big horse. I mean, I'm kind of with James here.
Right, but even the music acknowledges him with this, like, dramatic entrance, and that the rest of the guards wait, and he shows up on horseback. I think it was pretty interesting. I think it was kind of lazy how they got out of the situation.
Well, that was extremely lazy. Angelus just steals a horse and they run off into, like, a couple streets down, and Holtz can't find them or whatever. It's weird.
Right. So when, like, I just wish they would have cut back to Cordelia being like, oh, that's it? Like, I gotta know what happened. Mm-hmm. How did you get out of that situation? It wasn't
like really easy.
Oh,
Angel just didn't tell the story because it was anticlimactic and boring.
It's like, I don't really have a good ending for this.
All right. There's really only two things to talk about, I feel. And they are Fred and Darla. We might as well take them in chronological order and start with Fred first.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to talk about in terms of the episode?
Okay, well, some of the Angel Cordelia stuff will have to be saved for later. Something very quick. It wasn't like anything spectacular or didn't really add. It wasn't important to the episode storyline, but I liked that they had a Lorne music number. Like the fact that they went back to Caritas, like it's resetting up the season in all of our frequent places, and then I just thought the Lorne music number actually worked really well, and it was funny to see old Grandpa Demon or whatever the heck that was, but and we saw Merle, which I guess that's interesting. Like this episode had some really
interesting.
Well, it had some ties to like they made some ties to season 1. They made some ties to season 2, like early season 2. Mm-hmm. So it had a really good sense of, like, it was a nice jumping on point, I feel like, for anyone that wasn't really watching the series. Even though they, like, drop a lot of information on you, and the ending would have been really confusing for you. But I felt like they did a good job of bringing you back into this world and setting up all the pieces again.
Well, yeah. The fact that it's such a simplistic sort of plot, Angel's upset. Well, Angel is dealing with Buffy's death, and it's a bunch of Cordelia and Angel running around. I should mention, because we've done like 45 of these. I haven't mentioned because I think it's rather obvious. We've done 45 of these. It doesn't. All I really need is Angel and Cordelia to be doing something together, and I'm happy. And to be written. All I need is Angel. In a good Angel episode, I need Angel, I need Cordelia, I need them to be together, and I need them to be funny, and done.
Right. I think that's part of the reason why I like that's so much.
I mean, it's a pretty boring episode if you don't have those two running around in the sewers sniping at each other.
Right. If it's just Angel having to deal with James in the episode, I probably would not have enjoyed it.
Yeah, because James is rather insufferable, let's be honest.
Well, they don't give him anything to do.
No, he's one note, and that's what I mean by insufferable. Like, if it was just him, like, if that subway car scene is just Angel and James and Cordelia is nowhere around, I don't think it works as well. Because you have Cordelia being Cordelia in that. And I also really like when Angel steals the guy's crutches and Cordelia has to hold him up. And then he takes out James.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Okay.
I like Kung Fu crutches. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, still commenting on James, I thought they did a good job of making him feel invincible. Mm-hmm. He's not invincible. Oh, invincible is he? I really loved that phone call. But they gave him a really good sense of being like formidable and unstoppable, and so there was a real threat behind him. Not that I think that Angel or Cordelia are in an immediate danger, or they're not going to do anything to them in the season premiere. But I thought they still did a decent job of him being better than just the run of the mill vampire. Like the actual fight scenes, Angel still is having to give it his all, and the fact that they have to run away, it felt better than other fight scenes we've had in the past.
I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of tension, but I do think there was something entertaining about them having... Because Angel really does... He should kill him several times quite quickly. And he just doesn't, because James can't die.
Right.
He stakes him pretty early on, and then he kicks him out in the sun.
Yeah.
So I think it worked, because there was just a lot of joking going on between Cordelia and Angel that... I mean, it wasn't scary, but I do think that it was engaging watching them be chased by this guy.
Yeah, he wasn't quite the, Terminator vampire or whatever, but it still was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can talk about Fred now, because I do want to talk about Fred. Well, I liked getting to see her again. Since we're dealing with the 3-month period, I really liked the rest of the gang talking about her and how they describe her, having different points of view on her character without her actually being present. Like Gunn saying that, there's some real strength with her, and then Cordelia having the exact opposite reaction, like her trading 1K for another.
Which I'm kind of with Cordelia. That I feel that Fred has attached to Angel in a rather... Not that I don't like Fred, obviously, I do. But I do think that she's attached to Angel now. And it's less of an issue of her connecting to the humans or just trying to unattach from Angel and look at him as her savior still.
Right, and that's really apparent in the scene where Angel comes in, and he just looks so gosh darn pretty with his nice blue shirt.
I know. Well, I didn't think pretty. I just thought Angel looks odd because he's wearing cool colors and he's not wearing dark, and he has he had the beige jacket on and the baby blue shirt, and I was very distracted by his outfit because it wasn't dark turtlenecks and trench coats.
Which, again, it's really striking for them having to deal with Buffy's death. He's wearing these bright clothes and he's okay. What the heck's going on? Why isn't he feeling a particular certain way? But I do really like that Angel and Fred scene because she still seems very unhealthy and kind of crazy. But the way
and she has graffitied all the walls with writing.
Right. Not something a normal person would do. And I like how Angel is handling her or trying to be that Angel that helps people. That he'll still take the time to try and get her to interact with the world and try and get her out of, this cave and interact with humans and, the slow process to her recovering from Pylea.
I like that she's still, she hasn't recovered at all. And I'll be fine with her not being at this level for a couple episodes, but they run to a risk of respecting what she's been through and having to deal with that and just marginalizing the character to someone who's crazy and lives in her room and is just weird. But someone who needs to be protected and sheltered.
Right. It just adds another dynamic to the group.
I'm just saying that it's working for now, but if halfway through the season, even if that's completely plausible that Fred wouldn't have recovered from 5 years of hell, if she still is in the room or she's still jumpy or whatever, then I feel like they're doing a disservice to the character because there's a sameness to that.
Yeah, that's true. They don't do anything to actually really develop her, or if they take too long to, then it'll feel bad. And something else I did want to comment on, like, I must have been really wrong. I'm just really wrong about the accent thing. I don't think it's that apparent. I thought she did fine. I don't know what I was remembering.
I don't know.
I was just wrong.
Off podcast, you were like, well, Red shows up, she's going to have a thick Texas accent, and it's going to be too much for me. And I haven't noticed it. I mean, she has some kind of accent that comes out.
Right.
But I do feel like it's a natural sort of accent. Unlike Angel's weird Irish thing.
Irish, English, American.
Yeah.
Whatever that was. It's someone trying to do an accent. But no, her portrayal just feels very natural for how crazy she is.
So Darla's pregnant.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that was a heck of a way to start the season. Like, I
remember that I was shocked first time. I didn't have much of a reaction because I obviously knew it was coming this time.
Well, okay. Should it be more obvious because we had a flashback that included Darla? Probably.
Yeah, at this point, they're not going to bring Julie Benz back for one flashback when we had a whole arc with her.
Right. And, well, one, like, her hanging out in Mexico is interesting. And then you have that creepy guy, and just, I don't know.
Did she kill everybody in that bar? Because I felt when she walked out, that one guy was slumped over the table. Could have been passed out drunk. Could have been dead.
Yeah, I think that she did kill everyone in the bar. Mm-hmm. I think the other guy probably thinks that guy's passed out drunk and just sees a...
I think she killed everyone in the bar because she's Darla. And she is really pregnant.
Like, super pregnant.
Which I don't know how many... It's been 3 months since we last... It's been about the same time that we were gone. I feel like she's bigger than she should actually be, which...
Well, that's 3 to 4 months. Yeah, that's
I mean,
crazy.
And then there was maybe a couple... Maybe she's 6 months pregnant, so maybe that's about right. But she does look very big.
She looks like she's going to pop.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, she's dead. And she's pregnant.
Yeah.
There's something weird going on.
It's very foreboding. They play some, dun-dun-dun music. Mm-hmm. And they did call back to him and her having relations when James is commenting on their relationship.
Why hasn't anybody picked up on it? Because Angel is so not subtle about the fact that they had sex. Because he has weird jokes about it in front of everyone. No one thinks it's weird.
Well, I think maybe Cordelia would be more concerned with the fact that guy's trying to kill her.
Okay, which I do really like, that Cordelia, I guess it kind of falls onto it. Comedy rule of three is that it's probably more times that Cordelia's been in trouble than 3, but I do like that she tells Angel she's not going back to her house because that's how she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
And refuses. And that it's not like she takes a completely active part in what happens because James is unkillable. But I do like that she's there. Right.
It just added a better energy to... And actually, it added more stakes to the actual fight. Mm-hmm. Like, if Angel's having to protect Cordelia, because not that Cordelia can't handle herself in any kind of way, but this vampire seems unkillable and obviously it's very motivated.
Better for him to be protecting Cordelia and a bunch of extras rather than just protecting extras.
Right. What I did think was interesting was that Angel's trying to get Cordelia to travel through the sewers to get her out of the Hyperion, and then that would have ended very terribly if she had actually listened to him. So Cordelia was right the entire time.
What do you mean?
Because she would have traveled. She would have gone through hey, go through the sewers, get out of here. She would have gone through the sewers and immediately ran into James.
Oh, that's right. I thought you were talking about when they actually go into the sewers, because they really get caught in the sewers because Cordelia's phone rings.
Right. But yeah, going back
to amazing reception for that phone in the sewers.
Yeah, I mean, I like that tried to make that believable that he would that the phone call would drop. I mean, it was very TV cliche. It dropped right at the end of the call
when it was the most conveniently dramatic time for it to drop.
Yeah, I mean, it was convenient, but yeah, okay, I have nothing for it. Whatever, we got the information we needed, and it made for a really good joke about he's not invincible. Don't over exaggerate, and then them saying that he was invincible.
All right,
I know we're pausing. Well, okay, a couple of things. Well, one, we didn't talk about the Cordelia still dealing with the visions.
Oh yeah. Well, we can say that for feedback.
Okay. Then I think I only have. Well, and just one more thing. I really liked the Fred joke about get back to your room. I thought that was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm making the small steps out of here. And it's like, go back to your room and stay there. Okay. But yeah, we can move on to feedback.
Okay. All right, so we only have one comment about Heartthrob so far. And it comes from J-Man, who said, "This is kind of a by-the-numbers piece that never grabbed me. I guess everyone has forgiven Angel for last season with all the hugging and bottom me. Cordy puts up a fight with that fire stinger, and the two fights that we don't see before and after the episode apparently involve her using weapons. But I feel like I have to point out that Angel saving Cordy from peril again. Call me a prude, but Cordy takes a bath with Dennis in the room. It was funny when Angel yelled at Fred to get back in her room, and Angel's flashback and accent and hair never disappoint. So, thank you."
Yeah.
So do you want to... That's what I mean that we're going to say. Because it's really only involved in the Dennis bathroom scene.
Yeah, it's interesting that, like, I guess they kept up with the consistency of her still having the ghost. Like, he's just not going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Do you find that creepy at all? Because this was probably my second favorite scene of the episode.
I didn't find it creepy.
Because he doesn't have a body.
Right, and if she... Like if she dead. Was going to... If she's living with him the entire time.
Yeah.
And all he does is... And in the scene, like, he's very... Yeah, he's very... Nurturing, caring.
Do we know for a fact that Dennis isn't a gay ghost?
What?
Do we know that?
No. Well, yes, we do, because he was engaged.
Okay, but maybe he died and discovered he was a homosexual. I'm not following this line. Well, I'm just saying there's no reason for it to feel sexually charged at all. If he's a gay ghost, he's not attracted to Cordelia.
I didn't feel like there was an over-sexualization of the scene. I thought they actually did...
Well, I don't think there's an over-sexual of the scene, that, whatever his sexual preferences might be.
Right.
But I'm just saying, do we know for a fact that he's not a gay ghost?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
At the most, he's a bi ghost.
At most, he's a bi ghost, okay. But I still don't feel it is sexually charged in any way.
Right. And I thought the scene was handled pretty tastefully. Like, they cut away... And there's no like lingering shot of Cordelia's back. You know what I mean?
No, and there are convenient bubbles all around.
Yeah.
No, it's just about. It's not about her taking a bath as much as it's about her showing that she's still. She's trying to hide how much in pain the visions cause her.
Right, there's like a lot of medications.
There's a lot of medications in the bathroom cabinet.
And her, like, she literally tells Dennis, these visions are killing me.
And she wants
just getting
the water to be very hot.
Her, and we even saw her, like, earlier in the episode, her sobbing after the vision, which the visions weren't as gruesome as we've seen before, but, they've been setting up that, she feels everything that happens in these visions.
I was kind of hoping and thinking we were going to get Fred coming down to comfort her or something, but we didn't get that, and I'm still kind of disappointed about it. But I do think that I do like the Dennis scene.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt he felt very nurturing and caring, and
it's a lot different from when they she first moved in with Dennis and was pretty nasty to him.
Right. Like, they seem to actually have a rapport, which is funny that he actually feels a little bit like a character. Like, Cordelia just kind of sells the scene.
Yeah, it's really just Charisma Carpenter with a string.
Right. And it's not that goofy. Like, that scene could easily feel really, really goofy. Yeah. Like, the loofah's pretty goofy.
I mean, yeah, that loofah was just really bad. It is just barely hanging on to whatever wire they have it connected to.
But, I mean,
that's very shaky, yeah.
He's Patrick Swayze in my mind. That's all that's happening right now.
Well, then it's very sexually charged.
Sexual. But no, I thought they sold the scene really well.
Now I'm just imagining Whoopi Goldberg in the bathtub rubbing Cordelia's back with the loofah, so thank you for that. Do you, the other part of Cordelia, do you feel that she's still, I mean, I don't disagree that she's still being saved by Angel, and I do think that we talked about it in the last season premiere where, I am so bad with names. The pregnant girl. Oh. Whatever her name was.
Yeah.
She didn't want to be saved by Angel as a reaction to all the helpless women all the Angel has saved. And now we're talking, here's Cordelia saying that she doesn't want to be sent back to her home to be kidnapped, and she refuses to do that. So, baby stuff. Not great.
Right.
But I do think we're more moving towards something.
I'm okay with her being in peril because Angel is also in equal peril. Mm-hmm. Like, he's barely hanging on in these fights. Like, yeah, he apparently, like, could have killed him at least twice, but the fact that guy just keeps coming. Like, I thought not that it's, like, overly threatening, but it's enough for both of them to feel like they have to be running.
Yeah.
And the fact that, yeah, Cordelia throws with the fire extinguisher, still tries to jump in with the fight, and gets knocked across the room. It's not like she's doing nothing or, like, is scared in a corner. You know what I mean? I don't think she feels particularly like the damsel.
No, I do think, I mean, that's just too much going on, and it would be repetitive if she tried to grab something else, and after she gets pushed back, she charges back in, because then the same thing's going to happen. But I do think that we're moving towards Cordelia, maybe, and we did at the end of last season where she had her crossbows, and it wasn't, she just had a vision, and she curls up on the circularly couch thing in the lobby. It's not always that. Sometimes she does go out and helps. I think we need to see her doing more of that.
Right. I mean, she doesn't have to be this super badass demon hunter.
I don't think Fred needs to be either.
But them establishing that she can at least add something to a fight, I think works. Mm-hmm. And, like, in the fight, we see her throw the fire extinguisher, throw the stake that immediately... Or does she throw the stake first?
I don't know. She throws weapons to Angel.
Right. And tries to distract the guy for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just felt like this vampire was on par with Angel, but you just couldn't kill him. Like,
no, I don't think he was. I don't think James was on par. I think you couldn't kill him, and that was the problem.
He seemed better than the run-of-the-mill vampire. Like, anytime
he's older.
Anytime they have a vamp with a past, mm-hmm. they do a really good job of making it feel like two superheroes or superpowered beings fighting each other. Mm-hmm. So,
all right.
Anything else? So we're moving on from Heartthrob.
Yep. Yes.
And we have a comment from Joseph talking about Pylea. For the record, I don't have much to say about Pylea except that I hate fun and Pylea. Humor is completely subjective, but I found Guys Will Be Guys much funnier. This was all mood whiplash and pointless silliness, like a D&D campaign run by a dungeon master who thinks whimsical is the same thing as funny. Like, me. I don't mind stuff like Lauren and Cordy vamping in the mutilation chamber, but generic silliness like Lauren's family or slaves defending mutilation with modern comments like, "We don't have much for entertainment, just distracted me." So thank you, Joseph.
I mean, humor is subjective. I don't agree with him. I didn't like Guys Will Be Guys. I feel like Guys Will Be Guys is not particularly clever and just kind of goofy and slapsticky.
Well, I mean, not that Pylea didn't also have some similar gags.
No, but I think there were more, in my mind, there were more clever jokes than there were. I find unexpected responses and dialogue to be funnier than any kind of visual gag. Like, for example, in this episode, Cordelia is saying, "Look how this necklace brings out my breasts." Is more funny to me than a lot of other things.
Yeah. We didn't talk about that one. I really love the rest of the gang's reaction.
I love that she says it to get that reaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like obviously like them having witty dialogue and like surprising humor works for me. But the sight gags,
anybody doesn't enjoy Numfar in the Dance of Joy.
Yeah, like sight gags still work. Like something really abnormal and out of the way. But yeah, I think it's subjective. Like I don't have a problem with Joseph not finding things particularly funny. Like I remember, I guess, with the Pylea arc, like being okay with it, but maybe not really liking the fantasy aspect to it. Like it just being this fantasy world, like feeling very medieval. But I don't know. On Rewatch, I still found a lot of the comedy still worked for me.
I found the comedy worked for me more than the fantasy elements. But again, it's subjective.
Yeah, and I still really liked the finale. So
okay. So next up we have Ashley, more on Pylea, who said, "I think I'm in the minority because I actually really enjoy the Pylea arc. I'm not a big fantasy person, but I like seeing Pylea and being in a different dimension and learning more about Lauren, who is one of my favorite characters on the show. Ed introduces my favorite character, Fred. I love and adore Fred, accent and all. I also like Gru, and I totally believe that Cordelia would just instantly fall in love with him. It feels like Cordelia from Buffy, which is the Cordy I prefer. It's also interesting seeing Angel so excited to be in the sun, looking himself in the mirror and commenting on his hair. I also like the concept of him turning into the full demon, which is called a Vantala in Pylea. I also agree with you guys about Gunn's story. I think it's why I never really care about Gunn on the show. He's just sort of there. But we really don't get much to see of his story on screen. The ending is great and sad. I like that they come all back all happy and triumphant only to see Willow there with bad news about Buffy dying. I look forward to hearing you guys talk about Season 3. Season 2 is probably my favorite season of Angel, most because I love Darla and Angel going dark, but I do like the first half of Season 3. So, thank you, Ashley.
So, yeah, Ashley...
I don't think she's in the minority.
No, I don't think so either.
I think there's a lot of people that like Pylea. But
I like there being... We have the Joseph on the one side and Ashley on the other.
Mm-hmm. I think, in general, I enjoy Pylea. I think it's really a 2-episode story stretched over 4 episodes. Or maybe a 3-episode story. I think you could write 2 tight episodes and be done.
Right, like we had the end of the episode when they spent a whole episode waiting to get there, which you could have just used the last 5 minutes of that episode. And then we had the first setup episode there, which was fine. Then we had the filler, and then we had the actual finale. But so, yeah, it really did feel like they stretched it a little bit, which at time was grating, but when it worked, it worked.
Yeah, I think the last 2 are probably the strongest of the 4.
Right.
But then the other thing is, are those 2 as strong as the other if the setups aren't there?
Yeah, and it's strange because, they had Wesley do a bunch of exposition, even though we spent a whole episode basically setting up that moment where they were meet, Princess Cordelia, which they ended up calling her queen in this episode when they were talking about it, which is besides the point, but something that was interesting.
I mean, I wanted to call her Queen by Leah because it just seemed she was the queen, not the princess. Because who is the ruling monarch if it is not Cordelia?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. I mean, yeah, I like them introducing Fred and...
Here's the thing. Talking about which Cordelia we prefer. I prefer them both. Really. I think they're the same person.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I think they've like, especially on Rewatch, they have done an excellent job of developing this character to this point. Now, even though last season, for half the season, they didn't develop Cordelia and she just went to the wayside, the way they developed her to that point at the end of season 1 where she talks to Angel and says, we have to go help these people. Like, something completely changed within her. She still has the Cordelia-ness where she just will say abrupt, almost rude things, but there's so much...
Pretty rude.
Pretty rude. She has, like, a great sense of heart and caring in her that has just, like, blossomed. And I really love that about this show in particular.
Yeah. I do think... I understand the desire to separate them into two different versions of the same character, because I do feel that you don't get this kind of altruistic sense from Cordelia, really, in Buffy.
Right.
Like, she's around and she kind of helps, but she's really kind of miserable while she does it. And I do think that Cordelia was funnier, but I do think that there is something... It doesn't feel like they just decided, well, we need to make Cordelia more likable and more heroic because this is a show where she's a hero. I do think that there's a logical progression for her to get here. Because the thing that really turns the corner for her is a pretty internal act. It's when she gets the visions and she gets all the weight of that and she personally experiences the pain. Like, that's what changes her. It's not that she sees something and that causes her to change. It's that she physically... It's kind of... I'm not going to say that Cordelia having visions is selfish in any way, but it is a selfish motivation for what changes her.
Right. But I also, at the same time, felt really gradual. Like, life happens to her. Like, her family going bankrupt and then her having to be this poor individual and be by herself.
Well, even before that, she loses all her friends because she starts to date Xander.
Right. So, I mean, you strip her away from everything, and then all she has is herself and what happens to her, and then where she develops from there. Like, she got broken down only to be built back up and be a different person. So, I think they've just done an excellent job with her, and now, I liked her on Buffy, but she is more likable on Angel, and seeing her have a different kind of relationship with Angel on this show, as opposed to her just being like on Buffy, just thinking that he's just really pretty and just being a jumping off point for jokes. Like, she feels like a real character on the show.
And I agree that her liking Gru based totally on his looks is
natural for her.
Well, it's a very Cordelia Buffy thing, but the other thing is that I think that just proves that they're the same person.
Yeah.
I find it odd. I still find it odd that she says she loves him. Just because. Yeah,
I mean that sticks out.
That's
definitely.
Just dumb.
Well, like, even in this premiere episode, we have the Cordelia that says, "Hey, look how it accentuates my breasts." But that's the same character that has this heart to heart.
Yeah, that tells Angel that you're not. Well, and the other thing is you're not a loser. Is how she built him up. That you're not pathetic. You're not pathetic. You're a living, not breathing good guy.
Right. I really wish she would have had that speech or just that line about "you're not pathetic" if James was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I like just to see his reaction.
But we try not to. And the other thing is, we try not to say her name when they're talking about Buffy to James.
Is this true?
I don't really think that Buffy. I think Cordelia misses Buffy in the abstract way that you miss someone who died. I don't think she really misses her.
Right. I don't feel like they were ever particularly close.
I think she misses her in retrospect.
Yeah, I agree. As in, that was that person I knew in high school. And
that I was kind of friends with and now they're dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I think. That's just saying. Like, if there comes a point where Cordelia is just, like, so perfect in everything that she does, if we get to a point where Cordelia is just, like, saintly, then I think I'm going to have a problem with it.
Well, yeah, because there will be no development with her.
Well, they could develop her to such a point where she's just, like, the most wonderful person in the world.
I mean, she is pretty wonderful.
I mean, obviously, I think Cordelia is the moon of my life. But she also has the part of that is that she still is Cordelia. We still see Cordelia from Buffy peek out, and that's still there. Like the hardness and the kind of not nastiness, but the spunk of her is still there. If she's just like shining through, like she's the most self-sacrificing person in the world, then if we ever lose Cordelia telling people, "I don't think I know."
Like her being super real talk.
Yeah.
Like the way she talks about Fred at the beginning of this episode. It's very blunt. Her being blunt. Her being
if we ever lose Cordelia being blunt, then that's when things run out. If she ever stops being sarcastic and having an attitude about things, but still managing to care, because that's the delicate balancing act.
Yeah, that is. But so far they've done a great job, I think.
Yeah. All right.
So, favorite moment and scores?
Okay, so we have the same favorite moment, so we might as well talk about it together.
Yeah, I mean, we alluded to it.
We've already talked. I don't think we can just say what it is, because I don't think there's much more to say about it. It's Cordelia talking to Angel about how him accepting Buffy's death isn't a bad thing.
Right. Or the fact that he's still, she builds him up so well. I really love her using the line, I don't think that's betraying her, that's honoring her, which is just this really impactful moment, and it felt really nice.
And I think it's impactful, particularly because those two weren't close.
Yeah. Like, the fact that
Cordelia seems to understand. I really want to talk about how other people respond to Buffy's death, but I do think that Cordelia and Angel seem to understand Buffy better than people who should.
Yeah. And I love, one, it's Cordelia knowing Angel and being, and seeing more into Angel and how he's not, how off he is about this whole situation, and how that she can be this insightful with him. And obviously, Angel's just kind of having a really plain reaction to it. Like, he has this, quiet little smile, and then just the words, "You think?" But it's just a very Angel response to something really deep about
it's
her.
A very character. They're both very... It proves what is so interesting about that dynamic and engaging about them. And how these two people who really shouldn't work as well as they do together do.
Right.
Because Cordelia is so in your face and blunt, and Angel is so introverted and not that.
Right. Obviously, it was the best moment in the episode.
Not that I think I think it's the best moment in the episode, but I don't think that there's it's the only good moment.
Oh, no. But it was just the best way possible you could acknowledge Buffy's death and deal with it in such a respectful way.
But that's the other thing I want to talk about, because I think you need, like, acknowledging that she has died. That needs to happen. But we also need to acknowledge how Angel responds to that. And the other thing is, it's what I like about it is not what it says about Buffy, because from Sanctuary, I feel that Buffy is so not a part of this universe. Even though she obviously is, they exist in the same universe, but I don't, because when Angel tells Buffy in Sanctuary, you don't belong here, go home. He's talking to Buffy, but he's also talking to, like, just the Buffy show that they don't. Buffy crossing over to Angel makes less sense to me and feels more awkward than Angel crossing back over to Buffy.
Huh. Well, I mean, obviously, they made that progression in season 1 when we had I Will Remember You, and how that felt natural to Sanctuary, where she now suddenly feels like a stranger in a strange world. And the perspective switch of it being through Angel's perspective and how dark Angel's show had become at that point. I also really liked how, we talked about how Cordelia didn't really seem close with Buffy, or she wasn't close. And the way she, describes it, like, she's like, I don't mean to belittle her death, but how respectful she is about Buffy, even though, she can be so blunt and harsh.
Honestly, I do feel like Cordelia understands Buffy better than most people. It's just that she doesn't particularly like her. Because I don't think it comes from a point of she doesn't understand her. Even when she says she doesn't understand Buffy, I think she understands her perfectly. It's that I do think there's jealousy born in there that Buffy is able to balance having. Buffy had in high school what Cordelia has now. And I do think that Cordelia was always jealous of that.
Right. And there was just an acknowledgement of Buffy and a general respect shown in that scene. I love how insightful Cordelia is in that moment. And, ending up with the, very funny and sweet line of, I'm Cordelia. I don't think, I just know, I thought worked really well. And it felt like such a natural character moment, but such a great character moment between the two of these people and the relationship that they share.
Okay.
Scores?
Yes. You go first, because I really don't know what to go.
Well, I actually really, really liked this, even more so than last week. I know it's setting up a lot and there's a lot of exposition, but, getting more of Angel's past and really pushing the relationship between Cordelia and Angel. And I thought, just the stinger at the end really sets up for a really interesting season going forward. I'm giving this a 71 out of 100.
Oh, my. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That threw me for a loop. I think...
Boom shakalaka.
I think I'm just going to go at a 64 because while I like it a lot, it does feel very premiere-y to me. And it's very simplistic. And while, I mean, obviously I could watch an 80s era procedural of Cordelia and Angel solving crimes. Anything with them two I would be down with. But it's not the greatest episode because, Fred doesn't do a whole lot. It's really Cordelia and Angel's episode and talking about Buffy, who's a character that isn't even on this show. And Wesley Gunn do almost nothing. And Lauren is in a quick scene. So yeah. I don't think it's the best episode of Angel because it doesn't really utilize everyone on the cast. But I do think, and it's so simplistic, but I do really enjoy it. There's nothing I find particularly bad besides the fact that James is an obvious Spike stand-in. Okay, so
this is hypothetical, what if James was Spike?
Well, then that's a whole different episode because it doesn't end the same way because they don't kill off Spike.
What if it was Spike and they did kill him off?
No, that would have been terrible.
Okay.
I mean, if they killed off Spike in this premiere of Angel, no. That's...
Yeah, it's just that would not acknowledge the other show.
Well, I mean, okay, so there's a couple things. One, Spike can't be on Buffy for him to appear there, so it's a completely different character.
Right.
Are we putting Drusilla in blonde vampire? Honestly, what is her name? Lizette? Elizabeth?
Well, that's... I'm not
Elizabeth?
Sure, but then
who knows?
Then you would immediately recognize that it was Drusilla, and Angel wouldn't be like, "Oh, I didn't recognize her." Yeah, this is a bad hypothetical.
Well, he kills Drusilla in a cold open of a random episode after everything. No, it just it doesn't fit. Hell, it's a completely different episode.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I was wrong.
I mean, if it is okay, so say Spike gets a new girlfriend. Then maybe.
Yeah,
but then he still doesn't die. They do think there is power in James dying on that subway car telling Angel that he didn't live. Right. Even though if that's a lie. It's what Angel believes. Because Angel is always... Angel, I mean, we've moved from a point where Angel in season 1 didn't want to have anything to do with people to now where I think Angel's biggest fear is being alone.
Yeah, such a interesting...
Because it was season 1 that he just didn't. He pushed people away
and wanted to be alone, and
it wasn't that It's not that Angel likes being alone. It's that was the best way he felt he could survive. Now I really do think that the worst thing that could happen to Angel is everyone abandons him.
Right, and I love how they reflected that in the episode with how Angel interacts with James, how Angel interacts with Fred, how they mirror each other, the baby steps that she needs to take to get back into the world.
Well, I also think it's the fact that someone, besides random women who Angel had to save, it's the first person that really needs Angel.
Right. Even unhealthily so.
Yeah.
Still.
I mean, because everyone else is... I mean, honestly, the rest of Angel Investigations are not the most well-adjusted young adults. Okay, other thing. We have gone so far off when we should be doing plugs. But I just realized, is Fred actually old, quite significant, not quite significantly, but older than Cordelia? Because she moved to LA to study, so I'm assuming she's 18, 19, then she's in Pylea for 5 years. Is she in her 20, 24, 23?
Yeah, well... Are they not they haven't acknowledged that, and the time, it's so awkward. The only way that they can get around it by the weird, they're never going to acknowledge it, because obviously if they did, then yes, she'd have a significant age difference where she'd be older,
mm-hmm.
But the only way they could get around it, if they're going to say that she was, she was super intelligent and graduated early kind of thing.
Oh, well, I think she's still old, because, I mean, the real thing they're never going to acknowledge is how actually old Cordelia is.
Right, all these characters seem like they're more
they think they're 20, 25. They're in their mid-20s.
But really, in the actual show, they should be 21, 22.
Maybe this year, Cordelia's
21, maybe.
21. I mean, for most of the show, Cordelia. Let's say Cordelia has a late birthday and she's 19 in season 1.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That so weird. And her drinking wine with Harmony and that not being legal.
Yeah. They're never going to. No, they're just going to accept. They're going to just move Cordelia up to what actually Charisma Carpenter looks like. Yeah,
and I actually like that in the show better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I was watching the Fred scene and thinking that she is so much younger, and then she's actually canonically older than Cordelia.
Right. All right. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
Or you can go to the Tumblr, which is angelrewatch.tumblr.com, see all the reviews archived there and the guests of whatever episode we're watching that week.
We're available on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
You can follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at TheComeForwardor.
And next time, we'll be reviewing That Vision Thing, where Lila coerces Angel's help in securing the release of a prisoner the powers that be have locked in a fiery prison.